Hey, let's make a super fast paper tablet thingamajig, whatever you want to call it. All you're going to need is some scrap vinyl. You can use any kind that's in my shop, sohungryhippie.com. We're going to cut it to size. All you need is a pile of scrap paper. I use junk mail. I use mistaken prints that sometimes happen, extra patterns that I know I've printed out, like the PDFs, and then I've already made them. I'm not going to make them again. I'll just use the back of the paper. All you need is a hole punch along with your paper and vinyl, cording of some kind, either suede cording like for jewelry crafts, that'll work, shoelaces will work, parachute cord will work, ribbon will work. This is, I don't even know what this is. I probably bought it 10 years ago. I'm using it today, so that's that. Need some scissors and a good attitude, and we're just going to make it work. And then in a couple weeks, I'm going to show you how to make one with grommets. And if we can do it, so can you. And so can pugs. Okay. So I'm going to cut my piece, this piece. It's going to be kind of longer and skinnier to fit in my purse. So I cut this 8 inches wide by 8 inches tall. And then if you want to imagine it, just fold it in half, and that's going to end up being the finished size, which this is about the size of a checkbook. So for me, this is what I wanted for my purse. Now for home, I'd make one that's bigger. Maybe I would even do an 8.5 by 10 so that I didn't have to cut paper. It's up to you. That's why it's so fun to make your own, because you can do whatever you want to do. So for the paper to fit inside and no rough edges poking out, so everything is nice and tidy, I have to cut my paper down. Now this one I've cut to 3.5 by 7.5. And I just usually, like some of these are even torn. This is what I do with my junk mail and whatnot. So I'm just gonna trim it all at once. So 3.5 wide. I'm using my 60mm Havel's rotary blade. I just love it. Makes everything really fast, and it can cut through stuff like butter. And now 7.5 tall. Okay, so here's my stack. Now I'm going to make a lot more than this, so I'm going to speed it up. So rather than going through and punching holes in all this paper and praying that my holes line up, I just bought myself this industrial style hole punch, and it's totally changed my world. I love it. And I will link to this so that you can buy one too. They're super cheap. Tools make a difference. Okay, so all of that is done. Now, all of these will line up. See, you can see right through the holes. Wonderful. So when I put my paper in here, I don't want any raw edges showing once this is lined up. So I'm going to stack it like this and then grab a pen. So I take a piece of paper, I line it up where I want it on the tablet. Take a Sharpie, make some dots. Those are my indicators on where I want to cut my holes. Then I fold it in half. Take my hole punch. I'm coming in from the folded side and punch that hole. And then I'm coming in from the folded side again. And then punching the second hole. Oh. There we go. Sometimes you may have to come in and kind of clean up the hole with your scissors if you want to. Depends on how good your hole punch is. Okay, so now we've got our paper. Line it up with the holes. Now sometimes I have to do half the stack first and then I add the other stack. So I had a piece of my lacing cord and I folded it in half and cut. Now my pieces are about 8 inches in length, but they don't need to be that long. I just make them that long because it's easier for me to tie them. So I'm coming up from the back cover. I'm lacing my lace up through the back cover, through the holes in my paper. I did half a stack to start with. Here's the other half. And then I'm going to go back down to the outside, flip it over, and I'm going to tie a triple knot. Here's double, there's triple. And then I just trim these off. And if you want to, you can burn them or seal the ends. I don't get that nitpicky. So same thing for this side. I'm coming up from the back cover, threading it through my paper. And again, you might have to do a little bit of the paper at a time. That is totally normal because it shifts and it doesn't want to line up sometimes. Whew! Don't press on the table, huh? Okay, so we've got the paper threaded on, and now I'm just gonna, that end is bugging me because it's so frayed. And I'm gonna go back down, flip it all over, and tie my knots. I pull it sort of tight because I don't want the paper jostling around a bunch in there. I think these are pretty on the outside. I like it. So there's the paper stack, and I can write anything I want. And we're done. Literally in minutes. I think that would be a fun gift to receive, don't you? Like a glittery stack of paper. I love it. If you wanted this to be double-sided so that you're not looking at the wrong side of the vinyl when you open your paper pad, just lay your cover on top of another piece of vinyl, wrong sides together, and cut an inside cover, and then sew all around the edges and punch your holes and you're done. Now I use Gooderman thread every time. I'm not using a special needle. Trim the edges so they're nice and flush. And yes, you can use glue as well. I would use Fabri-Tac and let it dry completely before you start doing anything else with it. Sewing is just faster for me and it's not coming apart. So then I'm gonna punch my holes and proceed as normal. I think I'm gonna use the hole puncher for this one since it's a little bit deep in there. You can also fold it just like we did before. A little bit thicker layers, but it'll work. In fact, the hole puncher works better when your layers are thick. Okay, so I picked the best side to be the outside. And I'm just gonna put these back in like before. So up from the outside.